We're here at Leinster House. I'm joined by Fianna Fáil's finance spokesperson Michael McGrath and by the Minister for Jobs, Enterprise and Innovation, Richard Bruton. I suppose a question being asked by a lot of your colleagues today as they come back for this final term: why the delay in the election? Why aren't they already out there campaigning at full tilt, Richard?
Well, I think the business of government goes on. From my point of view, I'm finalising proposals for our action plan for Jobs 2016, and we aim to support 50,000 extra people at work this year. I'm trying to get through the credit guarantee for small business, and I think other ministers are the same.
But there's a pretty thin legislative programme, certainly for the next few weeks. In many ways, the Dáil may be hard-pressed to find things to do.
And I think there will be bills that need to get through, but obviously everyone's mind is, part of their mind is on the election, and there's a huge amount going to be at stake in this election. I think the hard work that we've done as a people to build a recovery could be at jeopardy here. You cannot take the recovery for granted, and we've put in place a strong long-term economic plan that can build for the future, create the employment for the future, and that allows you the scope to invest in the services that people want.
Talk about that in a moment, but Michael McGrath, we saw your poster unveiled today, the Fianna Fáil attack poster, big picture of Enda Kenny, negative campaigning you're being accused of. Are we going to see lots of Fianna Fáil posters that feature Enda Kenny now as the most obvious person on them in the next few weeks?
No, I don't believe we will, but let's be honest here. Fine Gael has been attacking Fianna Fáil in a very explicit way on the internet, for example. It's littered with images of Fianna Fáil being attacked in a very personal way, in some cases by Fine Gael. But I think there is a serious message to the ad which was unveiled today as well. It is a reminder of all of the broken promises of this government. It is a reminder, for example, in the area of health, where it was promised that prescription charges would be abolished. Instead, they were multiplied by 5, that universal health insurance has not been introduced, that the scandal of hospital trolleys in the A&E departments has not been dealt with. And more fundamentally, it also raises the issue of the divide in society, which Fine Gael policy in particular has created and which has been deepened in the last number of years, and which we would seek to reverse and ensure a fair, inclusive recovery around the country.
When it comes to polling day, people will be asked to vote for a government. In effect, in the minds of many voters, will you have ruled yourself out in terms of that choice because you say, we're not going to do a deal with Fine Gael, we're not going to do a deal with Sinn Féin?
I don't accept that, and that is the premise on which the current government would like this election to be contested. And let's bear in mind, they came into office 5 years ago with the largest majority in the history of the state, and all of the opinion polls are now showing that they're going to fall well short of a majority. So everything is at play here. This election is about real issues. It's about the lives of real people and the policies of the different parties. Fianna Fáil would secure the recovery, but in a much more fair and balanced way across all strands of society.
Richard, you talked about economic recovery, but we've also seen just yesterday more than 120 jobs gone in Burris Ali in County Tipperary, underlining perhaps that this is a recovery which is not reaching every part of the country, and there are still very many communities suffering the effects of economic downturn and recession.
Well, I think it underlines the fact that recovery is always fragile, and that we have to put in place a plan that will deliver that. And I find it very hard to listen to Fianna Fáil, who are the authors of the crash that destroyed people's lives, saw 300,000 people put out of work, talk about how they're going to rebuild those lives.
What's the plan for Burris Ali?
The plan for Burris Ali is to market that facility, to see the jobs in Clonmel grow so that that's sustained, and to see this company recover again. But we have Amneal in Tipperary, just a new project. We have Aishtec in Tipperary, a new project. So we've plenty of companies who are investing right across the country, and we have a regional enterprise plan to deliver that. Now we have to have the right environment to allow those plans to develop, and that's what we are committed to give.
If the old adage, Michael McGrath, that it's the economy stupid, if I can adapt the phrase, if that's the case in this election campaign, how do you answer the claims that we're going to hear from government ministers like Richard Bruton that don't wreck the progress that's been made?
Well, Fianna Fáil certainly wouldn't do that. In fact, we are very confident that we would secure this recovery in the country, and we welcome the fact that there is a broadly based recovery, notwithstanding the fact many of the jobs are of quite poor quality with low pay and little or no security, which do not allow people, for example, to get access to a mortgage to buy a home. But we have a very strong plan in the whole enterprise area, and as a party which has traditionally supported the self-employed and small business, our plans will involve, for example, a new voluntary opt-in PRSI scheme for the self-employed, plus cutting capital gains tax for entrepreneurs, for example, to give us a much more cutting edge in that whole area to attract mobile investment.
Just a final word. The government's big failure, I think, in the eyes of many, has been the failure to really tackle the problems in the health service and the much trumpeted reforms that were offered there at the start of the life of this government. What are you going to say to people who say that this is an area where there's been really catastrophic failure for many?
Well, I think you have to look at what has happened. I mean, we're treating 20% more patients in our health service, even though there's less resources there. So we are delivering improvements. There are crisis situations in our A&E at certain times of the year, as there always have been. Even when money was there to burn and Mary Harney was spending a fortune on the health service, there was those A&E problems. That's the reality.
Right, there we have to leave it. Time is very quickly, Michael McGrath.
Well, I just don't accept that. I mean, the government's fundamental promise in health was the introduction of universal health insurance by 2016. It's been completely abandoned.
But you had all the money in the world to spend on the health service and you didn't
that
deliver.
hasn't happened. This government has no plan in health.
All right, that debate to continue, no doubt. Michael McGrath and Richard Bruton, thank you very much indeed for joining us. Back with more from Leinster House a little later.